Hello, and welcome to the Hypno Fairy Godmother Show. Gonna give people another little second or so to kind of log in. I know sometimes this is on a little bit of a delay, so we want to make sure that those that want to check in can check in, and I would love that. So while we're waiting for that, just like to introduce myself. I'm Shirley, clinical hypnotherapist here at Whispering Zen Hypnotherapy. I have a private practice here in Southern California. I'm an advocate and a mental health first responder at Whispering Zen Hypnotherapy and Wellness. Thanks for coming into the show. I know that for some of you it takes a minute to log in, so that's why I'm giving you a little bit of a break here before we get fully going. But I like to tell people where they can come as they are and leave as they want to be, because that's what it's about, becoming the best you possible, which is what we're going to be actually talking about today. So, do you wish you could more freely enjoy a new healthy habit or just get back to being a better you? Then let's talk. Because although I specialize in being, a part of and working with the LGBTQIA community, I welcome and I work with everyone. And I love working with different types of people and, whoever needs my help. So if you do need that help, I'm here. I'm always here. So you can book online a nice consultation, which is a free consultation at whisperingzenhypnotherapy.com. So thank you for joining us today. The new and improved Hypno Fairy Godmother Show. Um, Now that you can be seen, or I can actually be seen on different social media sites and things like that. So if you want to find out a different site to log in on, or you just really like where you're watching now, you can always log into whisperingzenhypnotherapy.com. So today, let's start out the show the way I love starting out the show. So the first thing I want you to do is make sure you're in a safe place. And that's no driving, no working on a special project, no helping out your kids. You need to be in a nice, safe place, which I love. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to take a wonderful, nice, deep breath and hold it and exhale with a smile, because sometimes you just need to stop and take that nice deep breath, which is why my finger says, breathe, because sometimes we just need to stop and breathe. So for this next part, which is my favorite, and everybody knows if you've watched this show before, this is my favorite. So the first thing I want you to do is wiggle your toes. That's right. It's easy to do wherever you might be, just wiggle your toes. Next thing I want you to do is wiggle your buns. I said it. Let's wiggle your buns. Squeeze those cheeks together, whatever you need to do, just get them wiggling. Because you can't do that without smiling, and I can't tell you to wiggle your buns without smiling. So that's why I always tell you to do it. And take another nice deep breath. Hold it. And exhale with a nice affirmation. And that's just something, a little words to yourself I like to use. We've got this, or I've got this, actually, because sometimes you just need to tell yourself something really encouraging to get you through the day or get you through the week. Sometimes it's just to get you through the next hour, and that's great, because sometimes you need to do that. So the next thing that I would recommend, if you got a little extra time, is roll your shoulders. Maybe roll your core around, roll your neck around, loosen up. You're going to feel your shoulders move down, which is perfect, because in just that little amount of time, there you go. You have now loosened up everything from your toes to your nose, got yourself moving a little, and you're breathing, and that's what we really want. And for today's show, I want to thank Interfanatic Digital Marketing, who has been so helpful to me, for sponsoring the show. They are the internet fanatics, upgrading performance online since 1999. Interfanatic will always be there because they have had the answer for over 20 years. Inner Fanatic is a reliable source for websites and digital marketing. Inner Fanatic runs lean but delivers high value because that's how they keep happy, successful customers. That's Inner Fanatic. So find the internet fanatics at innerfanatic.com. And I'd also like to thank AndyShirley.com, who is excited to announce that their newest Hubble Bubble Tiny Toes books are published and available to order for you and your kids. What's a Chakra and Hubble Bubble Zodiac for Kids are now available for sale on AndyShirley.com. And if you'd like to help become a sponsor of the show or just help keep us going, you can always contact me at whisperingsinhypnotherapy.com or join my Patreon page, because of course I have a Patreon page, and just go to Hypno Fairy Godmother Radio Show. Nice and easy. As we've talked about before, I am a hypnotherapist and I get asked a lot about mental health, how to maintain it, and how to talk about different ways of keeping your mental health going. And today I actually want to talk about becoming the best possible you. And I've talked about inspiring other people, but this is kind of a way of you becoming the best you. And the longer this craziness and this pandemic goes on, people are wondering how to handle this new normal, whatever normal might be. And it's been interesting during these last couple years to see what people have done in their extra time, if they even have extra time. Some people never got extra time. Um, so, if you do or did have excess time, and I've seen people beginning in projects to start and change their dreams. And at the same amount of time, I've also seen so many amazing things that people have done and they've started. And so I want to keep that going. So we're going to talk about the next little part of what I like to call the art of Weeble Kung Fu. And it's okay if you have stressful feelings during this time, because this is a stressful time. It still is. And you're allowed to have bad days, but you don't have to feel perfect and you don't have to feel invincible. This isn't going to be easy for most of you. It wasn't easy for me, but you got to keep moving forward. So the art of Weeble Kung Fu comes in handy. If you remember Weebles, they're this toy with this rounded bottom that never fall over. They just sort of lean back and forth, but they readjust. And that's what we all need to do. And like I said, I've talked about becoming the person that you wish you would have had growing up. But now, and I've given you ideas, but this is about what being the person that you wish you were right now. Remember in kindergarten and first grade, your teacher asked in some weird way, do you know what you want to be when you grow up? Like we know what we want to be in kindergarten and the first grade. But for some, are you that person that you thought that you were going to be? I'm guessing you probably aren't that person. And you're probably not doing what you thought you'd do then. When my teacher asked me, I said I wanted to be a jammer on the Thunderbirds because I was totally into roller derby. And I thought that would be the funnest thing possible. And I got to tell you, my teacher was slightly concerned, called my parents, because I didn't want to be a nurse or a doctor or anything like that. I thought it would be more fun to be a jammer. But now thinking about it, I'm guessing that she probably been more concerned if I said, you know what, I want to be a hypnotherapist when I grow up. That would have thrown everybody off. Because back then, people didn't really understand that you could be a hypnotherapist, um, or even what that means. But the first thing you need to do when becoming the best you, and it's the most important thing, is that you need to know that you want to be the best possible you. Because if you don't want to be the best possible you and you're happy where you're at, then I guess you're great and congratulations. But I'm thinking that you really want to be able to, you know, expand on your horizons and do the little things that you want to do. So let's move on, because I don't think anybody's really happy with where they're at. The second biggest problem, the biggest lie, actually the biggest lie that we hear is that if you just work hard, it'll all happen for you and the world will be yours. Well, I know people that have worked hard their entire lives, and you know what they've lived? A hard life. And that's all they've gotten out of it. So, you know, and they don't like where they're at. So, if you're going to work hard your whole life, let's make it matter. Let's live your life fully, not just live your life. And what's bad is that a lot of times in the schooling system, from grade school on up to high school, that they now track you. And what that means is that they have testing systems. And the testing systems, depending on what they do, is they're really good for kids that are really good at taking tests. But it doesn't work for everybody. It definitely did not work for me, or would not have worked for me even more. Um, because what they decide is, are you, going to go to college? And so they aim your classes at that. Or are you going to go to they aim your classes towards being out in the real world, whatever the real world is. It it changes a lot. And so, but the problem is that they're making decisions for you. And at young ages, you still don't know what you want to be. You still don't know what you want to do. So, how are you supposed to become that person and strive for it? Because maybe you had a bad day. I can tell you, I am not a great test taker. Never have been, probably never will be. Um, so, my classes were never aimed at being, one of those kids that were aimed to go to college. The funny thing is I did go to college, and I graduated from college. And I'm sure that that really surprised people that made me take those tests. So, we're going to talk about ways to become the best you now, not when you were in school, not maybe even where you're at now, but ways of becoming that best person. And Time Online had some suggestions, and I've added to them and subtracted some, and do what I do. But the most important thing is to show up. That's right. Say you want to run a marathon. Don't know people that want to. It's not something that I would want to do, but I know people that love it. But you've got no prior experience on doing this. So the first step is lacing up those shoes and hitting the pavement. And the first time you try to start running, maybe you made it half mile. Maybe you just made it around the block. But you know what? You're that much closer to your ultimate goal than if you never put your shoes on at all. So this all has to do with slowly moving yourself forward. Start from the beginning. You're not just going to stumble on becoming the best version of yourself. You need to start from the beginning and just work on your little small steps, and in order to get to that person that you've envisioned. Recognize that the best version of yourself should be your vision, not somebody else's vision, not what somebody else wants you to be. I know kids that have followed in their parents' footsteps because that's what was expected of them. They never wanted to be that, and they're miserable. But they're afraid that if they, take a different path, then they're going to be disappointing their parents or disappointing their family. But you have to do what means something to you, what's in your heart. And if what's in your heart isn't what your family wants, I'm telling you, you still have to do what means the most to you, because you can't please everybody. So please, just please yourself. I know that's what I had to do. I finally had to quit trying to be somebody I wasn't, which, man, I tried so many times to be exactly like someone else. I would try to be one of my siblings and, try to dress like them and follow in their footsteps because I didn't have a direction. And you know what I was? I was miserable. I could do it. but it just wasn't me. And, the important thing is stop looking for the secret, that secret little trick to move you forward. There is no miraculous shortcut in being the better version of yourself. Hate to tell you, there's no magical pill, there's no magical trick. It's work. You have to really work at it. And sometimes you just have to, take a leap. A lot of times people, go to Twitter and go to other social medias to network. Try things that are unconventional sometimes. It's never been easier to get in touch with influential people and powerful people. Sometimes you need to reach out to that high level executive of a company that you're interested in. A lot of times they'll do Ask Me Anything. It's called an AMA. And they do them on Twitter and they do them on other social media. And that's your in. That is your in to ask for advice about how to get hired in that company, or just ask their advice. And you never know. Sometimes they'll totally reply to you out of the blue. And there you go, with helpful tips and who to talk to and company information. That it's amazing. You never know what can actually happen. But I'm telling you, don't sweat the details. Just make sure that you're moving in the right general direction. Even if you don't have the knowledge that you need today to get to that shortest path, it's your way to your happiness. And it like I said, it's going to take some time, but the sooner you start and the sooner that you're there in that moment trying for that, you're so much closer. You know, you're so much closer. Just move in that right direction. Take those little steps and recognize if an opportunity happens. The internet has changed everything. Previously, if you think about it, knowledge was locked away in the minds of industry leaders and experts, and they could write it in a book, but you needed to buy that book or check it out of the library or whatever. But now it's so much easier to learn new skills. It's essentially becoming, that easy way to be the best version of yourself, which is what we're trying to do. And sometimes you need to write it down. I know we've talked about journaling, we've talked about things like that, but I'm telling you, sometimes the best thing you can do, even if you don't like to journal and you don't like to, diary things, that's okay. Even if you write it down on a piece of paper, translating your thoughts into written narratives pushes you to think about your ideas on a much deeper level. Because sometimes, like I say, some people need to write things down and go over it. And once you write it down, that you're one step closer to making it real. Some people are better at talking it out, but even if you're talking it out, jot it down, take notes. That's the key is doing that. Is writing it down. It's taking those notes. Um and when you're doing that, don't count the hours. I've put this many hours into this job. I put this many hours into this moment and this opportunity. They don't matter. Think about the last time maybe people walk or run on a treadmill. If you look down at your pedometer every few seconds, you're probably not going to enjoy what you're doing. And it has to do with running, it has to do with starting a new adventure, it has to do with everything. If you keep looking down at that pedometer, or if you're on a treadmill and you keep looking down at how far you've gone, it's going to make it so much more difficult. If you keep going, okay, I've been doing this for 10 minutes. Why aren't I successful? Doesn't matter. You could go, I've been working on this for weeks. Why am I not successful? Well, don't panic. Remember, Everything takes time. This is a marathon, going back to that. This is a marathon, not a sprint. Maybe take the opposite approach. Plug in your headphones, listen to music, and just take it one stride at a time. You know, don't look at the timer, don't look at the calendar. Just go with it. Moving forward. And if you do this, you're probably going to discover that you're having more fun doing it. Counting the hours and the minutes and the steps just slows you down from reaching that goal. It doesn't help you at all. Another good thing of advice is accept help. This is a big one for some of us, and we're really not good at it. But accept help from other people. Don't let your pride get in the way. And I have had this problem, and man, most successful people need help along the way. People don't just create their destiny, or most people don't just think up and create their destiny. If it's something that you're really adamant about, maybe find a mentor. Find somebody that's in the field that you want to be in and work with them. Sometimes it's a free internship. I know you're not making any money, but think of what you're gaining along the way. Think of all that knowledge that you're getting. Another good thing that you could do is maybe launch a personal website. Social media, way of getting out there, because you're maintaining that online presence of yourself. And if you're maintaining that online presence, maybe that's that, way of keeping yourself accountable, because sometimes we need to keep ourselves accountable. And if you make sure that you need to keep updating and letting people know how you're doing, it really will push yourself to be a better you, and it'll get you that one step forward, because we're all about becoming the best version of you. And please ignore the social media scoreboard. And you know what I'm talking about. People tend to depict an extremely exaggerated version of themselves, whether it's Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, whatever social platform. We only share the good things that are going on. We rarely share the bad things. Oh, so sorry. So when you compare yourself to what you see on social media, you're only hurting yourself, because you're comparing yourself to something that's incredibly unrealistic. Like I said, people only show us the best part. I earned this much. I made it to this. I made it to that. Well, how hard did they struggle? They never say, well, I failed at this today. Although I belong to one group. I love this group. It's actually a crafting group, which is something that I'm very passionate about, this particular group. And people post mistakes. They post things that are totally not even close to what they wanted it to be. And they actually ask help. They go, okay, this is what happened. Look at this. This turned out horrible. What do I do to make it better? And they actually point out, I have flaws. I can't figure this out. I'm actually going to ask for help, which we talked about it a couple minutes ago. It is about asking for help sometimes. There are people on this group that are experts that have working with this system for years, or a year, because this is a relatively new thing. But they understand the system. They understand the do's and the don'ts, and they give helpful advice. They don't criticize and go, oh, you need to give this up because you have no idea what you're doing. Instead, they go, well, why don't you check this, this, and this? Help. You're asking for help, and you're claiming your flaws. That's great. But we also need to celebrate the small wins. Appreciate what you're doing, because that's going to give you the motivation to keep moving forward to that ultimate goal. So, people on this site, what happens is when they do make something that turned out perfect or close to perfect, what they do is they post it and they go, thank you for all your help. Now I've got it and I figured it out. And it may only be a one time thing, but it's so perfect because they've asked for help and they're one step closer to being that person that they want to be, that ultimate goal. And it's okay to stop pretending that you know things that you don't. You'll never learn anything if you pretend that you already know things. So by admitting that they're not good at something, then they're not pretending that they know. They're not only posting the good stuff, they're not only giving advice when they know something. There are people that post, I'm following this post because they want to learn. They're not saying, I already know how to do this. And that comes with any project. It could be a new career, it could be a new project, asking for help. As a hypnotherapist, there are groups that I also belong to and associations that I belong to as a hypnotherapist. And sometimes you have clients that you've never worked with that have an issue that maybe you've never worked with. And I love when new hypnotherapists ask questions. Okay, I've never worked with this type of person. What do you suggest? And people don't say, well, if you've never done it, don't ever do it. Maybe they'll suggest that you get additional training, but maybe they'll suggest a technique that you don't know about. I love working with clients, and I was at an event this weekend, and somebody had asked me if I work with a specific type of client. And I had never worked with that type of client, but I told them that I would be totally interested in working with them and, you know, and seeing where it goes because it was something that was really unusual. Um, but I admitted straight out, I've never worked with that type of situation. I'm not going to tell you the situation because it is kind of personal, but that I'm willing to work with them as a team because I don't know everything. I don't know. I've been doing hypnotherapy for a long time. I have clients, from all over. Some of them have regular issues that are pretty much a lot easier to work with when you're doing hypnotherapy and hypno counseling and things like that. Um, and some of them just throw me like, wow, I have no idea. And for me, that's good because that way that helps me become, and that's helping me become a better person, you know, and it's better for me all the way around. But what's important for you and important for me is you have to find your purpose. And that's a hard one. What do you want to put your effort into? And you need to be realistic about it. You can hope to be the world's best, whatever, the world's best hypnotherapist. But I can just strive to be the best possible me. You know, I know that I will probably never be the world's best hypnotherapist. That doesn't mean I'm not good at my job. And everybody's idea of what the best is kind of subjective anyway. So I'm not striving to be better than someone else. I'm striving to be better than who I was. I'm striving to be, the best me to help my clients. I'm striving to be the best me in this new art that I'm taking on. I'm not, striving to be the best ever because honestly, hypnotherapy has been around for eons. I mean, we're talking Egyptians, ancient Egyptians. We're talking all the way back. Um, Hypnotherapy is even in the Bible if you want to, go that far. So you have to make sure that you're not striving to be the best ever at everything. Find your purpose. I changed my whole entire career after the age of 50. You don't think that's not scary? But I didn't go into it setting myself up for disappointment. I set my goals. I knew that I was going to have ups and downs. I knew that I was going to have fails, but I went into it optimistic and I went into it, and every day I just strive to be a little bit better at my career, a little bit better at the things that I really wanted to be. And you have to, you have to have courage. You have to just, sometimes they say you walk to the edge of that cliff and you got to take that next step, you know? And I'm telling you these things that, if honestly, I feel this way, that if it doesn't scare you, then maybe you're aiming a little too low. If you're really gonna move on and impress yourself and, become that other person, you gotta be a little bit scared and a little bit hungry, you know? And love and achieve. This gives you the opportunity to love and achieve all the little small moments, all those little victories. When I had my first few clients, and at the end of it, when they said, I feel so much better, or I feel like I'm getting there, I looked at these moments and I was like, okay, this was the right thing. This is a healing thing. And I'm a healer. So, you know, I'm taking these small moments and I'm wrapping them up and I'm adding them up to bigger and bigger moments. Um, but being and working long term, it's not easy. Nothing's easy, but that's okay. Sometimes you have to embrace the fear of failure. I didn't say it was good, but sometimes you have to embrace that fear. You can become, you can't become the best version of yourself by playing it safe. You know, sometimes, and I've had this happen, sometimes getting fired can be the best thing that ever happened to you. I know to some people that doesn't make any sense, but sometimes you need that extra kick, that extra reason. I'm not telling you to go out and get fired. Please don't think I am. I would never tell somebody that it's great to go get fired. But what I will tell you that sometimes it's that opportunity that you need because you're so much more inspired. And sometimes that sense of do it now, is that little kick in the pants that you need. And fear of failure is both mental and emotional. And it's the most common reason why people don't start something and they don't start moving forward. But it's that way to maybe it'll help you conquer that goal a little faster. Um, I used to laugh and when I met my current wife, I only have one, but I used to tell her that, I was fired from a lot of really bad jobs before we started working together and before we met. So, it wasn't a goal that I had, but it was one of those things that helps me become a better me. I was taking jobs and doing things that weren't set up. I never set myself up for success. I looked at every opportunity as part time or low time, as little time as possible. And that's setting yourself up for failure. So make sure that, that you do stuff that means a lot to you. And, you know, becoming the best possible you isn't actually a full time job. It should never overcome you, take over your everything. It should be something that you make little steps towards, because if you make it a full time job, you're not going to enjoy yourself. Now, I'm not saying you don't have to work hard. You really need to work hard. I work every day on becoming a much better me, but you have to be aware of what's going on around you too. And, you know, don't stress yourself out and think every day I have to be better. Every day I have to be better. Some days are allowed to be bad days, but that doesn't mean you're working backwards. Sometimes you do the slide to the side. Most of the time, we take little bitty steps forward, but if you need to make a slide to the side because you're having a bad day, you're not moving backwards, are you? Nope. And if you push yourself too hard, you're never going to be happy. You're never, ever going to be happy. We spend most of our days with our minds just wandering everywhere. And if you've been listening to me for a while, um, then you know that our brains just wander. And it's not productive when that happens, which is another reason to try not to do everything that you're aiming for in one day. You need to celebrate the little stuff. And one of the other problems that we have that comes with, facing your fears is what's called imposter syndrome. And a lot of us have this. In some jobs, your goals, you just can't fake it till you make it. You actually have to know what you're doing. I mean, as a hypnotherapist and stuff, you can't just use people as, okay, you're not a real client, I guess you would say. You can't fake it till you make it. If you're a doctor, even if you're an accountant, or you need to know what you're doing. Um, so we have imposter syndrome. And you can have another problem with imposter syndrome is that you can have all the training and all the knowledge and the skills, but you don't have the courage to take that step. So what you do is you take more training and you learn a little bit more, but you never actually take that next step because you're so afraid of not doing it right. And you can't become the best you or help others, without doing it yourself and taking that really frightening step. And sometimes you need to move to the side. You know, you're not moving backwards, but sometimes you got to take that great big step. And they say that sometimes the best thing that you can do is step outside of the box. Well, what I'm telling you is I love to take that box and just kick the crap out of it, because you need to step out of it, step away from it, and go through it. Don't be stuck in anybody's box. Expand. Go for it. Try it. There are people that spend their whole lives just getting training and taking courses, but they never take the leap. And if you never take the leap, you're never going to find out if this is who you were supposed to be. You spend your whole life getting ready, but never quite moving forward. And it's the same thing whether you're doing it as a job, as a hobby that you hope turns into a career, or even when you're working with your mental health. The best thing to do is find something that gives you pleasure, that makes you happy. And you can take your time. If you need to take a breather and step back for a minute, that's fine. If you're stressing yourself out trying to become the best possible you, then you're not doing it right. Because the idea is not to over stress yourself out to do it. You know, You need to stop. You need to breathe. You need to just convince yourself that it's okay. It's okay if it takes a little longer. And know that if you are having a bad day or you don't understand, and people go, does that really matter? Well, I have to tell you, if it matters to you, then it matters. Don't let people, whether you're, no matter what it is that you're working on, don't listen to people that say it just doesn't matter, because I'm telling you, like I said, if it matters to you, it totally matters. You know, if you need to, make it a side project. Doing something productive outside of what you normally do. If it makes you happy and it helps you become a better version of you, then do it. Whatever it is. If it's learning a new app, if it's starting a new scrapbook, no matter what it is, you can do it on nights, you can do it on weekends, little steps. And who knows, it might turn into that full time job, that full time experience that you've been looking for. Another thing you can do that we've talked about is helping others become the best version of themselves. Once you have this knowledge, give it out. It's not a state secret. By helping someone else out, you're also helping you out. Pay it forward. Doing it can keep you motivated on your own path. You're going to find out that the lasting connections you build from helping others are going to benefit you moving forward. And if you're not satisfied with the current version of yourself, then the quickest way to solve that problem is to begin working forward. Start today. Start, yeah, I always tell people that wait until like the beginning of the year. I have New Year's resolutions. Why does it have to start at the new year? It could be a November resolution. It could be an August resolution. We're in November, so in November you can have a Thanksgiving resolution. You don't have to start on Monday. You don't have to start on New Year's Day. People always go, "It's Monday, so I'm starting something new." Why? Maybe you wake up on a Thursday and you go, "You know what? Today's a good day to start. So I'm not going to tell anybody what I'm doing. I'm not going to make a big deal about it. I'm just going to go for it. I'm just going to go for it." And sometimes not telling everybody in the beginning is also really good, because, when I first started taking classes to become a hypnotherapist, I didn't tell anybody because I was afraid that they would think that I was crazy. I waited until I had almost graduated. And for some people, I waited until I had graduated. And they were surprised. I actually had somebody go, "Oh my God, you had a graduation. This is a real thing." Yes, it's a real thing. So don't let anybody tell you that what you're doing, even if you don't have a graduation, don't let anybody tell you that it's not real what you're trying to accomplish. Like I said, if it matters to you, then it matters. If you're not happy with the current version of yourself, the quickest way is to begin working towards that person. There is no right time to get started. There is no right time to get started. You can start this afternoon. That's right, this afternoon. And that's just as acceptable as starting the first of the year or the first of the month or a Monday. You know, And it can be tempting to think about the best version of yourself as some tangible point in the future. You know who you are. You know what you want. You want to be more successful in something that makes you happy. Do you want to be doing something that you love? Are you existing as an overall happier person? Becoming the best possible you is becoming that person that you wake up every single day and you can tell yourself, "You know what? I'm going to make today the best day." And by telling yourself you're going to make today the best day, then you're telling yourself that you're doing great. See yourself as as the regular person that you are, just getting better. And if you're waiting, you know, for the playoffs, so to say, you know, to give it your all, if you're waiting for till a specific point to give it your all, do it now. Absolutely do it now. Because if all you do is wait for the best version of you to happen, you're going to be forever waiting. You're going to spend forever waiting for that person. Sometimes you just need to make that big change in order to unleash that best version of yourself, you know? And the way I look at it is that, if a thought enters your mind, then it's time to do it. If you've been thinking about it and thinking about it, and you wake up one day and you just go, now is the time for me to start. Are you looking things up online? Is a way to start. If you're writing down your plans or expectations, that's a way to start. I get inspiration from music. I get inspiration from funny videos because everybody should get to laugh. Sometimes I get inspiration when I stop and take a break. And I like to give you, tips and tricks and things like that if you're starting to get overstressed. And I've told you in past shows, how to do that when you need to take that break. And the next show will probably be more about those tips and tricks because I haven't done one of those in a while. And I need to remind you that this is what we need to do. These are crazy days still. And, more and more people are leaving their houses and they're meeting up with people, and that's great. And you're still taking precautions, but I love it when I'm listening to music. I have to wear a mask wherever I go. Most of you do too. And I recommend dancing while you're listening. You're wearing a mask. Who's going to know it's you? Now, in my case, I have bright pink hair, so people tend to recognize me. But for the most part, people don't know it's you. And they're not really paying attention. Nobody's going to stand there and stare at you unless you're doing some wild, crazy tango through the aisles. But just humming and, like bopping and dancing to yourself, it actually makes other people smile because when you're smiling and happy, it's going to make other people too. You know, um, I always suggest maybe calling your family. I know, you know, call up a friend, call up a relative you haven't heard from in a while. Start an online dinner group. You know, um, when you call your family, besides it being a really decent thing to do, you can also learn lessons from them. Maybe somebody has knowledge that you didn't know about because you never asked. You know, sometimes people know things that aren't on Google, and they can give you an insight on what's out there. You know, family sometimes gives you things. Sometimes it's your friends that you didn't know that maybe they had a family member that had a special gift that totally relates to what you want to do. Not everything happens on the internet. It's great, but sometimes people have skills that you never knew about. And it's just, people are dealing with so much. They're still dealing with this pandemic, and our first responders that are dealing with, and our healthcare workers are dealing with things. And they're just, maybe you're dealing with bereavement or survivor guilt. A lot of people are still living alone because they're afraid, or they've always lived alone. These are people that you also need to call. You don't have to be in a personal quarantine anymore. You can get out there. And sometimes you just need to get online and say hi. You know, Remember, what we're working towards is the best possible you. And that's giving people a way to smile. But smiling isn't always easy. But if you're striving to be the best you, the best thing I can tell you is once you get to the smile, you're almost all the way there. That's right. You're almost all the way there once you can get up and you're working on your dream and you're working on who you are and you're being present in the moment and mindful in the moment, you're steps and steps closer to becoming that best possible you. And remember, always take note of your mental state. Always. And if you need to make an online appointment with somebody or you need to talk to somebody because maybe you feel yourself sliding, people like me are always there for you. All you have to do is just, like I said, book a consultation, text me, email me, Godmother at Yahoo. Go to my website, you know, and I'll answer those questions. And if I can't answer them for you or I can't help you the way you need help, then I will help you find somebody that can. And sometimes we just need to talk to people that aren't related to us because sometimes we need to vent when things are bad. Now, talking to your family, like I said before, you can learn some things. You've got friends that you can talk to, you know, call them, text them, video chat with them. But sometimes you may need some help that they can't help you with. Sometimes you need to talk things out with a total stranger. You never know. You absolutely never know. And I want to make sure that, while you're doing this, you're keeping track of your mental health daily. Always taking, note of your mental health because we can't be stressed out and freaked out and worrying too much when you're trying to become that best possible you. So, like I said, if you need help, there's so many online groups that can help you out. And if you need me, I will always be there. I'm going to go over probably next week when we do this, when we meet up again, more about, breathing spaces and compassion pauses that we've talked about before. Um, you know, that and little tips and tricks, which is the best part that you can do if you do need to take that step away and you need to work on yourself a little bit before you start. Sometimes we need to work on us first and then we start working towards, because that's what it's about, is working towards being the best possible you. I know that keeping a quiet mind sometimes can be really challenging and that thoughts pop up when you're trying to do your little meditations. I know thoughts pop up when I'm trying to do mine, but just think about it and just let them go. Observe them, but don't let them overtake you. When we take these little steps forward, because I put these things out to you to help you make it through the day and keep you mentally stronger and keep you always moving forward. Use your breathing techniques that we've talked about, the breathing exercises and focusing internally. They're going to help you get there. And, always, I'm going to say it a million times, keeping track of your mental health, and asking for help if you really need it. And that's asking for help if you're getting towards your dreams and your goals, or asking for help if you kind of feel yourself sliding mentally. So I encourage you to take breaks when you need them, step away from things when you need to, but never, ever quit moving forward. And remember that I repost this show and all my shows. They're available on Facebook and they're available on YouTube. All my past shows are on there, so you can rewatch or listen anytime you need to. I have all my previous shows on there. Some say lives, some just say videos. You can find out what I've been talking about to everybody. Always take note of that mental, that mental health and that mental state at all times. Keep yourself moving forward. Thank you for listening today. Definitely. And it's been my pleasure to be even a small part of your journey. And I hope that it's been calming, a little soothing, little informative, but mostly I hope that wherever you are, you're leaving being just a little bit closer to where you want to be. I'm Shirley Yance, clinical hypnotherapist, activist, and mental health first responder here at Whispering Zen Hypnotherapy and Wellness. And I work together with my clients maybe even you. As a team, we work as a team to find the best way to get you back to being you and help you move forward to being that best possible you without any fears, without any pain, without any of that dragging you down. And I work online so I can help you wherever you're at and whatever you need help on. I understand though, hypnosis may not be for everybody. So we can see if we can work together. I would love that. Again, I'm Shirley Gantz, clinical hypnotherapist. And if you like, you could book a free online consultation because I would love to hear from you at whisperingzenhypnotherapy.com. It has been my sincere pleasure to help you out today and to be with you. Remember, this one last time, we're going to take a nice deep breath. Hold it. Exhale with a smile. Thanks for tuning in. Remember to tell all your friends about this channel. Become a Patreon if you'd love to, because I would love to hear from you. And I promise I will see you next week at 3 o'clock Pacific. I want you to have a great and wonderful, blessed day. Bye now.